Hey guys, welcome back to WODdoc Project 365, episode 519. Tonight what we're doing is a hip hinged pelvic rock. To understand the hip hinge pelvic rock, we first have to understand the pelvic rock, and then we'll throw the hip hinge on top of that. The pelvic rock consists of two things: a full anterior pelvic tilt and a full posterior pelvic tilt. Now, to understand what those are, we first need to talk about pelvic neutral. If I stand here in a neutral position and you look at me profile, and I was to picture my hips, so basically my belt line to my mid thigh here, if you were to picture that as a bucket of water, and I was to push those all the way forward, that bucket of water would be spilling out in the front, right? We call that the anterior pelvic tilt. That's the front side of the rock. If I was to do the exact opposite and push my pelvis all the way backwards, the water would be spilling out the back end. That's the posterior pelvic tilt. That's the back side of the pelvic rock. The pelvic rock then consists of an anterior and posterior pelvic tilt. If I go all the way forward and all the way backwards, all the way forward and all the way backwards, I'd be completing a full pelvic rock. However, today what we're going to do is we're going to add a hip hinge to that. Now, what's the benefits of that? If we're doing a hip hinge pelvic rock mobility exercise, what we're doing is we're first allowing ourselves to mobilize our low back, all right, in a fairly safe position. We're gaining spatial awareness of where we are, so we know when we're all the way to the front and all the way to the back, or all the way to the anterior and all the way to the posterior. And we know that we should be in what we call a pelvic neutral position. I'm sure you've heard all your coaches say that. So if we have spatial awareness of where anterior and posterior is, if we fall out of those optimal positions, we know how to get back to them better and more easily. So here we go. We're going to throw just a jump stretch band over our shoulders and step on it with our feet. We're going to fall into that nice hip hinge position, and from right there, we're just going to push our pelvis all the way forward, and we're going to bring it all the way back, okay? One thing to remember is that the pelvis being neutral, okay, is in relationship to the torso line, okay, not the ground. So if I'm standing straight up, this is pelvic neutral right here. If I'm in a position which I'm in a hip hinge position, this is pelvic neutral, this line right here. So complete pelvic rock all the way forward, all the way back, all the way forward, all the way back. And we know we want to find the center. The goal of tonight's exercise is to do 15 seconds coming all the way forward, all the way back, complete pelvic rocks. And then 5 seconds of holding pelvic neutral. So, under the jump stretch band, all the way forward, all the way back, all the way forward, all the way back. 15 seconds comes up. Last 5 seconds, we're going to hold right in the middle, hold that solid midline position. Guys, hope this helps you out. And until tomorrow, we're optimizing function to optimize performance.